also known in these streets as my BK underscore Mrs. G. Welcome back to my little corner of YouTube, and in particular to my Lawyer's Corner. Now, I established my Lawyer's Corner, like I said in my first clip on my Lawyer's Corner, in order to share little tidbits and nuggets about South African law, how it's developing, what is happening in the law currently, and all that jazz. The point is for it to be educational, entertaining, also insightful for for would-be lawyers. Now, in today's episode, I wanted to cover something that has been happening in the media currently in South African law, and that is covering the escape trial of Thabo Bester. Now, if you don't know, let's give a small background. So Thabo Bester was dubbed the Facebook murderer and rapist, right? He would lure his victims over Facebook, over Instagram. He would lure them and promise them modeling gigs, what have you, only to lure them to wherever he would be and then rape and murder some of them. So he was then convicted of rape and murder and was sentenced. He was serving his sentence at the Mangaung prison. Fast forward May 2022, a fire breaks out in Thabo Bester's cell. One person dies. The apparent inmate who was serving a sentence in the cell where it was believed to be Thabo Bester apparently was killed in the fire. Fast forward 2023, a brave victim spots Thabo Bester in Joburg's upmarket suburbs, shopping his life away with his partner, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, right? Posts a picture on Twitter only for the skeletons to be brought out of the closet, right? And that is where basically this matter of Thabo Bester escaping prison was then uncovered. He then escapes and flees the country with his lover, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, only to be discovered in Tanzania. The pair are brought back to South Africa in order to face trial on charges of escaping, Dr. Nandipha Magudumana aiding the escape, and from there on it just unravels and unfolds with more people being added to the charges, more people that aided this escape, right? And now, initially only Dr. Nandipha was appearing in person in court, as well as those other suspects that were then being linked to the matter of aiding the escape. Now, yesterday, Tuesday the 8th of August, Thabo Bester appeared in person for the first time next to Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, as well as all the other suspects in this particular matter. Now, what's interesting for me in this particular matter is their demeanor in court, their behavior in court. In other instances, they were seen to be giggling. They are laughing loudly with one another as the suspects in front of the public, in front of the media, in front of the court, in front of the victims that were also involved in the matters leading up to their escape. Now, one of the victims in the matter leading up to the escape is the family of the man whose corpse was stolen and placed and planted in Thabo Bester's cell in order to aid his escape, or to pretend like he's the one that burnt in the fire in the prison cell. Meanwhile, he had escaped and was living la vida loca basically in Joburg, in the face of his victims, in the face of his would-be victims, because who's to say that he was at that point really rehabilitated, right? Another matter of interest that I wanted to point out is how the pair have been dressing in order to appear in court. Now, very often it's become a public topic of discussion that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana would often appear in court with very well manicured hair, probably better looking than mine, good looking makeup, good clothes, in a very healthy looking state of luxury. On Tuesday, the 8th of August, Thabo was spotted wearing a Louis Vuitton t-shirt to court, right? These are luxurious brands. This is not it's not an everyday loungewear or plain t-shirt. And remember, Thabo is a convicted murderer and rapist. He is serving a sentence as we speak. It's not like there is a matter for which there's only a matter for which he's awaiting trial. There's a matter for which he's serving a sentence and a matter for which he's awaiting trial, being the escape, right? What is the correct decorum in terms of a sentenced prisoner appearing in court? What are you allowed to wear? What are you supposed to wear? Are you supposed to be in shackles? Are you not supposed to be in shackles? And considering the crime for which they are appearing in court, this is a crime that makes one look like a flight risk, correct? Because they escaped. Not only were they caught for escaping or called out for escaping, then they went on the run, crossing geographical boundaries and being found on the other side of the planet, on the other side of the continent rather, because they were found in Tanzania. Now, are these not to be considered flight risks? Are these people considered ones that would not try to evade their trial? This is a question that is worth pondering on. I shared on my social media yesterday, on Tuesday, when the pair appeared in court, and I shared my sentiments. I feel like it's a spit in the face of law-abiding citizens, to appear in court and to appear so blasé about the reality and the gravity of the crimes that you are being accused of, to appear to make crime look so luxurious and soft and so well kept. I'm made to understand that in the prison where Dr. Nandipha Magudumana is being held awaiting trial, there are facilities that allow prisoners to go through rehabilitative schooling, some which includes grooming schooling, hair and makeup. They have salons which they run themselves, they operate themselves. In almost every court appearance that Dr. Nandipha has appeared in, she either had a different hairstyle or her hair was looking incredibly fresh. Her makeup was done to the nines. Some people even went as far as naming the brand of lipstick that she had been wearing, right? And it is not a cheap brand. Let me put it that way. It is not a cheap brand. Now it brings the question to mind. I certainly ponder on it and ask myself, if crime looks so soft and so luxurious, what would be a deterrent for South Africans for them to believe that crime really doesn't pay, when it looks to ordinary South Africans that crime indeed pays? What would be a deterring factor? If a criminal can be a convicted criminal for murder and rape, these are heinous crimes, in the face of South Africa, a country that has such a high stats of violent crimes that include rape and murder. A rapist and murderer is able to escape prison, be on the run, has a passport and crosses the border and is found in Tanzania, and then when brought back appears in court looking, I won't say relaxed because that is an assumption, but looking clothed in luxury brands, right? Louis Vuitton is not affordable to the ordinary South African, and especially in the current economic climate that South Africa finds itself in. So I'm really interested to hear from people that either have worked in correctional services or worked with correctional services or have insight into the rules pertaining to how an inmate, a prisoner that is serving a sentence, and a sentence for an offense such as murder and rape, right? An inmate serving such a sentence, what is the correct decorum for them to appear in court? Number one, how are they supposed to be clothed? How they are supposed to be, are they supposed to be in shackles? Who brings them to court? Do they stay with all other awaiting trial prisoners, or do they stay on the sentence side? Does it interrupt the sentence that they're currently facing or serving, or does that sentence continue as if it had not stopped on the day that he escaped, right? The second thing that, the second topic that I want to sort of touch on in the vein or in the topic of this whole Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana story is the conduct in court. One very important thing that I picked up as I was following the story as it was unfolding in court on the 8th of August. The pair was seen to be holding hands during the court proceedings, right? Maybe this is an innocent act of Bonny and Clyde. They are so in love with one another and they haven't seen each other since they were brought back from Tanzania in April 2023. But for a pair that has escaped prison, and a pair that involves a murderer and a rapist, right? And a pair that went on the run once it was discovered that the escape had happened. For a pair that is entangled in such, and I would call it dangerous crimes. I would call it dangerous crimes because murder, rape, escaping from prison, who knows what else, stealing a body from a mortuary and planting it in a prison cell, setting the prison cell on fire, who knows what else could come out of the woodwork that could serve as additions to the criminal matter. The pair holding hands in court is not appropriate. It's not appropriate court behavior. It's not appropriate. I don't even want to get into the assumption of could one party be passing something over to another, or I don't even want to get into that because that goes without saying. It doesn't need to be spelled out that they could be passing something from one to another, given that they are such masterminds of such heinous crimes, number one, of such smart crimes also, number two, devising such a plan and putting it in action. And who knows when that plan started to be etched and to be carved and to be fine-tuned to the point at which, right, here's the corpse, plant the corpse, set the cell on fire, I'm out, now I'm living la vida loca as if nothing ever happened, right? Who knows what this pair is capable of. Now, in court, behavior in court is very formal. I have been a litigating attorney. I have been in courts, different courts, from your district courts in the magistrate courts to your high courts. I have not been any higher than a high court. I am yet to have that experience, and I really look forward to that experience. But in my view and in my opinion, and I stand to be corrected, it was at that point where the magistrate had the duty of calling the pair to order. The magistrate had the duty of calling the pair to order. They were whispering between each other, even when their own attorneys were addressing the court. The prosecutor was addressing the court, they were whispering between one another. It was at that point where a magistrate's function in court is also to ensure that the court is running in order. You are basically the principal of that classroom, and you are to ensure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing. The public is behaving in a manner that they're supposed to be behaving in. The prosecutor is Dominus Litis and is leading the proceedings. The defense is taking instructions from their client and advising accordingly and presenting the matter to court in an orderly fashion. And during that time, an accused person presenting themselves at court is also behaving in a manner that is in accordance with the court decorum or the court rules or the court functions. Inappropriate affections, public displays of affections, it's a no-no in court. It's an absolute no-no, and that is at that point where the magistrate was supposed to step in and say, no, Mr. So-and-so, please advise your client what is the correct decorum in court, what is the correct manner to conduct themselves or to behave in court. And it's at that point where that behavior should have been nipped in the bud, right? It should have been nipped in the bud. But it also raises an eyebrow as to any bias or any objectivity that the court is potentially struggling with or is not struggling with, right? A court should be fair. Court should be court as in the presiding officer. The presiding officer is supposed to be fair. The presiding officer is supposed to show these people the line which should be towed. And if the presiding officer appears clouded, then it knocks the confidence that the public has in courts, in the criminal justice system, in the justice system as a whole, right? There's always a question as to whether money buys justice. And in my humble opinion, once we find ourselves as a society, once we find ourselves in a position where only the rich get justice, or only the rich get away with whatever they want to get away with, then we have a serious problem. We have a problem that's beyond crime stats, that's beyond our government not being held accountable. It's beyond things like that, all right? And these are the things that will be interesting to follow as this matter unfolds. Now, the matter was postponed, I think, to the 11th of October for further investigations. So it's going to be very interesting how this matter unfolds, and it's going to be one that I really follow. I'm really touched about how the justice system is having a hold on this matter. So it's one that I intend to follow and probably will be talking about again in my Lawyer's Corner. I do want to hear your views. I do want to hear what you think about how this matter has unfolded so far. So drop me a comment. Follow me also on my Instagram page at @Tseho_Khailai. On Twitter, it's @Tseho_Mwash. That's half of my maiden surname. I think on TikTok, I'm also Tseho_Khailai. So let's follow this matter together. Let's share insights. Let's learn about it together. I'm getting rough around the edges in terms of criminal procedure and criminal court appearances. So it's one that has really sparked a love that I have for litigation. I think I say that all the time when I speak on my Lawyer's Corner. I have a very deep love for litigation. So share your comments. Let's learn together, let's grow together, and let's follow this matter together. And then I will see you hopefully on my next episode of my Lawyer's Corner.